Married men, what was that dumb thing you did during your dating phase that you can't believe your wife ended up overlooking? When I first started dating Mia, I thought being spontaneous and independent was the key to her heart. I was completely wrong about what that meant. One Saturday, she mentioned this small-town bakery called Sweet Dreams about 4 hours away that supposedly made the best cinnamon rolls in the entire state. She had this dreamy look when she talked about wanting to try them someday. Instead of suggesting we plan a cute road trip together like a normal person, my genius brain decided I'd surprise her by driving there myself and bringing back every single cinnamon roll they had. I imagined showing up at her apartment with this massive box of pastries, being the most romantic boyfriend ever. The drive there was perfect. I felt so proud of myself, singing along to the radio, planning exactly how I'd present the surprise. When I got to Sweet Dreams Bakery, it looked exactly like something from a movie. Small town charm, handwritten signs, the works. I walked in confidently and told the elderly woman behind the counter I wanted to buy every cinnamon roll they had. She smiled and started boxing them up. 43 cinnamon rolls. The total came to $87. That's when I realized I was an absolute idiot. They were cash only, and I had exactly $20 in my wallet. No ATM in sight. The woman was staring at me, holding this enormous box of cinnamon rolls, waiting for payment. In my panic, I did something even stupider. I took off my expensive watch, the one my grandfather gave me for graduation, and handed it to her. I promised I'd come back tomorrow with the money and pick up my watch. She looked confused, but agreed, probably thinking I was some kind of lunatic. The drive back started fine, but about 2 hours in, my car started making this horrible grinding noise. Steam started pouring from under the hood. I pulled over on this empty highway and called for help, but my phone died right after. No cars passed for over an hour. Finally, a truck driver stopped and helped me figure out it was the water pump. He had some tools, and together we managed to get the car running enough to limp to the nearest town. By then, I was covered in grease and engine coolant, and it was getting dark. The cinnamon rolls had been sitting in my hot car for hours. When I opened the box, they looked like they'd been through a war. Some had melted together, others had fallen apart completely. They smelled like car exhaust and disappointment. I thought about just going home and pretending this never happened, but I'd already committed to the surprise. So I drove to Mia's apartment looking like I'd been wrestling with machinery, which I had. When she opened the door, her face went through about 5 different expressions. I was standing there sweaty, smelling like gasoline, holding this beat-up box of destroyed cinnamon rolls. My shirt had grease stains, my hair was a mess, and I probably looked like I'd been in a fight. Instead of asking if I was okay or what happened, she just stared at me for about 10 seconds. Then she started laughing. Not polite girlfriend laughing, but full-on belly laughing until tears were streaming down her face. She pulled me inside, took the box of mangled cinnamon rolls, and said they were the most beautiful disaster she'd ever seen. We sat on her kitchen floor eating these gross, warm, car-flavored pastries while I told her the whole ridiculous story. She kept interrupting to laugh harder at different parts. When I got to the part about giving away my grandfather's watch, she laughed so hard she snorted, which made us both laugh even more. We ended up staying up until 3 in the morning, talking about everything. She said it was the sweetest, most thoughtfully stupid thing anyone had ever done for her. The fact that I'd driven 4 hours just because she mentioned wanting to try something once showed her I actually listened to her. 3 years later, when I proposed, I surprised her with a weekend trip to that same bakery. We picked up my grandfather's watch, which the owner had kept safe all that time, and bought 2 perfect cinnamon rolls to eat on the drive home together.